You know, the hardest story to tell is your own. There's actually only one reason why you would do it, and that's because there's a greater purpose inside of you. You probably didn't really think that your story can make you money or lead to an actual career. But have you ever wondered how so many people continue to make fortunes off of just their personalities? Take, for example, Ryan's Toys Reviews, $11 million. Or how about my kid's favorite, Blippi, $9 million. Or people like Jake Paul, $21 million. Or even Tekashi 69, okay, not Tekashi. But what separates them from the countless other people that are trying to do the exact same thing? It's story. But not just any story. They've learned to tell their story. And with the right knowledge and the right plan, you can take the worst parts of your life and use that in a way that is your greatest strength. I'm going to show you just how simple it is. Notice I didn't say easy. Did you know that being able to tell your story is the highest paid skill that you can have? One of the reasons why is because of how our brains are wired to respond to stories. My name is Jesse Delgado, and I'm a professional video creator, digital marketer, and storyteller. I started my career in music videos and shot many amazing artists, even shot a music video with Steph Curry. I moved into weddings and then story-driven content for social issues, and even worked on political campaigns. I've had my footage seen on places like the Discovery Channel. I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars from this one skill, learning to tell my story. This is why Hollywood is so successful. They tell stories. But there are other people, like Nike, for example. Every successful brand has told you a story. Just think about what comes to mind when I mention to you some of these names. Apple, Jordan, Supreme, Rolex, Ferrari. But it doesn't just have to be a luxury brand or story. Think about Walmart, 99-cent store, Five and Below, Goodwill, Kmart. Storytelling holds the keys to a greater purpose that lives in each and every one of you. More specifically, learning to tell your story. Because after all, how can you tell someone else's story if you can't even tell your own? For most of us, we think, my story? What's so special about my story? It's boring. Matter of fact, you might have tried really hard to forget certain parts of your story. But what if I told you that it holds the keys to the very things that we all say we want, but few of us have? Like success, admiration, respect, fulfillment, health, joy, happiness, and everything you could possibly desire. I know that's a bold statement, but I'm a bold guy. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you just how possible that is. But first, I want to challenge you with this thought. You have to learn how to tell your story so that you can confront your story. Once you confront your story, then you can rewrite your story. But now let's talk a little bit about money. Now, I wanted to break this down and make it as simple as possible so that you could see how telling your story can lead to at least making six figures. So let me break it down. All you need is 1,000 people. That's not a lot of people. And with that 1,000 people, they need to give you $100. And they have 12 months to give you that $100, which means they can give you just $100 in January and you'd be good. Or they can give you $8.25 a month. Or breaking it down even smaller, $2 a week. That's hardly a lot of money. But added up over the year, over 12 months, if you had 1,000 people give you $100, you would be making six figures. Business and making money is simply just a math problem. And in order to get where we want to go, we first have to have a goal. So we'll use that six figures, which is a pretty decent goal for most of us, and one that most people don't even make, especially from telling their story. Or do they? For the people that do, one of the biggest things they've decided is that they're going to lead courageously. Anyone can lead, but it takes a bold and powerful person to lead courageously. So what does that mean? Think of it like this. In order to tell your story, you're going to have to do some work. You're going to have to open yourself up, and you're going to have to be willing to fight for it. Let me give you an example, right? Think of the last time that you told a lie. Now I know, we don't lie, right? We don't lie. But if you did lie, what would you have lied about? Usually, it would revolve around something to protect yourself. So what you're saying when you do that is that protecting yourself is more important than being the person you know you should be and the person that you tell other people that you are. For example, I've never met a person who said, "Hey, nice to meet you. My name is John. I'm a liar." Most of us say that we're honest people until it comes time to lead courageously. This is a lot like telling your story. It's going to be hard at times. You will invite criticism, rejection, judgment, and all sorts of things. But you have to stay focused and you have to lead with courage. In the words of my guy, Dwight Taylor Sr., your future will thank you for it. It won't work if you're missing key ingredients and don't follow the recipe. All right, so you ready to get into it? I know your wheels are turning. All right, so let's get to it. So one of the best ways to do something is to first understand what not to do. And from there, we can kind of reverse engineer the process and understand how to effectively do it. Just like any recipe, there are certain ingredients and steps that need to be followed in order to see results. Think of it like this. I can pick up a guitar and start strumming, but if I don't have my fingers in a certain way, in a certain place, and move my hands across the strings at multiple times in different arrangements, then I'm just going to be making noise. Until you learn all of those things, you're just kind of making noise. So this is where we start dealing with accepting responsibility for what we're setting out to do. Now, one of the biggest reasons why people fail at telling their story is because they don't want to include the ingredients that make them look vulnerable. When the truth is, people actually relate more to your struggles than to your strengths. This is exactly why you might think that your story isn't good because you've been through some painful things. But let me ask you this. Who wants to go watch a movie about a hero who has it all together, he easily defeats every enemy, and he never feels mad, sad, lonely, or out of place? That sounds like a boring movie to me. Another ingredient that people don't want to include is honesty. We have all learned to try our best to get what we want. Some of us want to be seen as successful, some want to be seen as cool or somebody to follow, some want to be desired and be seen as attractive, and the list goes on. What we have to accept responsibility for is that by nature, we're selfish, and that is going to ruin your ability to tell your story. This leads me to the last ingredient, which is service. In order to tell our story, we have to have someone to tell it to. It was when I discovered this that I found success and I began to expect a great reward. I gave you all the ingredients, but now I'm going to give you the recipe. The recipe is the story format. Now, I don't have time to go into all of these in detail. I have more trainings on my website and things like that. But let me give you the story format, which is the recipe. First, you have a character who has a desire, who encounters a problem, who meets a person who can help them, that gives them a plan, and calls them to adventure that leads to transformation. This is the core recipe to have when learning to tell your story. If you follow these in your story or any story, you can expect a great reward. Listen, impacting the world is scary, and it's also the reason why most people won't do it. But I know that you're not most people, which is why I want to leave you with this final advice. Reject passivity. Listen, the world needs more leaders. I know it doesn't feel that way. Matter of fact, it can feel just the opposite. We start hearing things like, who do you think you are? What makes you an expert? Not to mention all of the internal insecurities that we feel when working through and confronting our story. But if you can, and I know you can, reject passivity, you can expect a great reward. You can accept responsibility for your story, lead courageously by using it to help others. And at the end of the day, I have no doubt that you can make a living doing what you were created for. Listen, I would love to connect more with you. I have more training and content around the things I've mentioned. Follow me on Instagram at Kingdom Creative or visit kingdomcreative.com.